Hello and welcome back to the Dream Printing Podcast. I am Polly Payne, your host, the founder of Horacio Printing, and I'm going to share with you 3 things I highly recommend you do before you print your journal. And this is honestly applicable if you are printing a devotional or a planner or a hybrid workbook or anything printed, honestly. If you are printing it yourself or you're working with a manufacturer, this is something I teach to everyone that goes through my print school program and creates their thing. So I thought I would share that with you today. 3 things to do. So grab your pencil, grab a piece of paper, take notes, write 1, 2, 3 down your paper, and let's go. The very first thing I highly recommend you do, you ready? Is consider the user journey. Now, at this point, let me backtrack. I'm assuming that A, you already know you want to create something, and B, you know what you want to create. Like, I want to create a journal, or I want to make a planner, or I want to make a devotional. Like, you already know what you want to make and who you want to make it for. We've already done that. Right now, we're at the process of like, okay, I know I want to do it. What are 3 things to do before you print? So, assuming you know what you want to make, the very first thing you want to do is consider the user journey. Now, what does that mean? When I was first making my very first planner at Horacio Printing way back in 2014, which I tell that whole story here on the Dream Printing Podcast. If you want to go back and listen to that, I think it's like 3 episodes back. But I was first making this planner. This was the very first edition from 2015. I thought about what I wanted that person to feel when they opened it. What did I want to tell them? And I have this one right in front of me right now if you're watching on YouTube. And the thing I wanted to do, for example, was write a letter. I wanted a letter that welcomed them into what I call the Horacio Printing family, to make them feel encouraged, to make them feel like this isn't just a product created by a robot, but it actually has heart and meaning. So that's one thing to consider, is the user journey as they open page by page by page. What is hiding behind those pages? And I highly recommend that there are instructions behind those pages, that you're giving them some sort of guided journey through the product. Now, another important thing about the user journey is considering the user journey helps you define the product. For example, when people come to me, because usually every print school student usually books a call with me, and we go back and forth and kind of ideate the product together. And I ask them a lot of questions like, all right, you want to make a journal. How many days does this journal take them through? You know, how many entries will you give them? Is this a 90-day journal? Is it a 30-day journal? Is it a 40-day journal? Is it a 365-day journal? Same thing with a planner. Is this a weekly planner? Does it only have the months? Does it have the daily spread? And some of those decisions are big decisions, sure, but they're important ones, because it's going to allow you to start to figure out and ideate, how many pages is this thing going to be? How much is this going to cost? I was working with a dear friend, Jessica, and we worked to create this journal together, the Even Here journal. And I believe it's very small, it's very dainty, and it is an 18-day journal. So there's 18 spreads in here. And we wanted to figure out, all right, what is the journey for this person? And we landed on, it's a scripture, it's a little bit of a devotional, it's some lines. And then for every single day, they have an additional spread where they write their prayer and they answer additional questions. So every single daily entry has 4 pages. So starting to define, what is that user journey? And your product could be as simple as a blank lined journal. One of my first journals I ever made, which if you're on YouTube, you can see what I'm showing you here. This was completely blank inside. It was probably the easiest journal in the history of the planet to create, because there wasn't much inside other than an intro page where you wrote your name. And this one has actually been completely used and filled out by me, because I absolutely love it. The paper is so thick. That's one of my love languages, is white space and thick paper. But depending on how thoughtful the product is, maybe it's just lines, maybe it's journaling prompts. Like, what is the user journey? And if you're like, well, I want it to have this and 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 this, and I want all the things and I want to create all the things, I get you. I am you. I totally understand. But let's think about the first singular product that you're going to create, that first singular product, nail down to just that. Because you can come out with the other things later. What's the one thing, the first thing you make, and what is the user journey for that thing that is not overcomplicated? Okay. That is the first thing. Consider the user journey. How do I do that? Sit down with a timer and think about it. What do you want it to be? If you're like, I'm really into this, I want to do this, I highly recommend that you apply and join Print School. I take you through the complete ideation process. I give you my templates and workbooks to help you build out and ideate your product. You can learn more at HoracioPrinting.com/print school. I have the link below this episode. You can jump in there. Would love to take you through that ideation process and then on through the whole process. So that is the first thing. Consider the user journey. You know what it's like to open up a product, and it's the user journey has not been thoughtful. It's just kind of thrown together. Like, what's going on here? What do I do? I'm so confused. How do I use this? So that's the first thing. The second thing is to print it out yourself and test it. Print it out yourself and test it. So how I do this at Horacio Printing is I'm creating new planner collections, which, by the way, the 2024 Dream Planner Collection is going to be my 10th year of making planners. It is my 10th planner to create. Our actual birthday as a company is October 2024. But it's just wild. That's so wild. So I've been doing this for a hot minute, quite literally. So this is something that I get printed at Staples. Obviously my planner is not this big. Not obviously, but just FYI, if you're new to Horacio, like my planner is not this big. My planner is actually this big. And this is my actual planner. If you haven't seen the Horacio Printing planner before, which, by the way, if you are listening to this and you're like, I want to see her planner, go over to our YouTube channel, HoracioPrinting.com/YouTube. This is my planner right now. But it's obviously smaller than this 8.5 by 11 printout. But I go ahead and get it printed out, and you can tell Staples print it to size, and they will actually cut it down, and they don't like doing it, but they will do it. Which is honestly better to have it printed out to size, because you can see the fonts and the line spacing, especially if you're doing a journal. Like, you want it to print out to size, and you want to see, is there enough space to write? Are the spacing between my journal lines like way too big? What do I like? What do I want? You always want to test stuff out. You might find a flaw. You might find something wrong with the margin. You might find that there's an odd font that doesn't match the rest of the product. Which, by the way, speaking of flaws and design flaws, the last episode we just had on the Dream Printing podcast was the 5 big design mistakes that we see when creating products. And I actually interviewed my lead designer at Horacio Printing, because she is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to designing. And that one is only in audio form over at the Dream Printing podcast on Apple or Spotify. So if you want to go back and listen to that, what we think is the 5 biggest flaws in design, you can check that out. That episode is fantastic. Nadine is absolutely incredible. But what I do is I print this out, and I have a couple editors around the country, and I will get it printed at their local Staples, and I'll have them write notes and mail it back to me. Or if I'm ended up visiting them, I'll do that. But I'll start to put notes in the planner, mark things red, check it out, and just have a look at it. But I think getting it printed is really important. I also would get the cover art printed separately as just like a flat print, because you never know how things are going to look when you actually get them printed on paper. Which leads me to number 3. Number 3, the third thing I would always do is order a sample. Order a sample. And I actually have an example of a sample that is messed up, and I'm going to show you that right now. Here it is. Okay, so this sample was printed of our 2023 planner, And I'm so glad I got the sample. I always get samples before we get our mass order printed. And what I noticed was this font right here was not centered on the binding. And also this, let's see if you can see this. That 2023 there is way too big. Like that's way too big. So because I had the sample, I had time to fix the design of the cover and get it edited and tweaked to where I love it. So always order a sample. That is so critical. With the sample, you're going to actually get a view of what it all is, how it all works together, the cover material, and sometimes, some products have a cover material like a linen or a leather, and you get what you get. And then with other art paper covers, it's actually your art. For example, I have a planner that has a white marble. Well, one year we got the white marble. We ordered like a file, like an art file of white marble, and that white marble had blue undertones on it. So when it was printed, it was actually like a blue. And because we got the sample early, we noticed, oh my gosh, why is the white marble blue? This looks terrible. And because of that, we were able to go in the file and like turn it into a black and white file, so there could be no other color other than the black and the white and the gray, of course. And that was caught early. But imagine if I had just gone ahead and ordered thousands of planners that year and they came back blue marble. Like, what are you going to do? So get a sample, get a sample, get a sample. I've said this probably 100 times already on the Dream Printing podcast, but get a sample. Those are the 3 things I think are really important to do before you print your journal. Consider the user journey. How can you make that special? How can you tuck away little bits of encouragement? Like whatever the goal is of your product, if your product is to help people organize their home, how can you give them little Easter eggs of encouragement throughout that product? What can you do behind each page to make it special, to make it unique, to make it not like everything else on the market? The second thing is to print it out, test it out, share with friends to test out, especially if it's a brand new thing and you've never, done it before. You need people to test it out. You need a little research and development. Number 3 is get a sample. And when I say get a sample, who am I getting a sample from? You're getting a sample from the manufacturer that you're hoping to print with, which is really exciting. For those that jump into print school, I actually pay for your sample and I connect you with my printer, the printer I've been working with for years. And I actually have a Rolodex of printers that I've vetted, and because I'm continuing to look at all of the different printers and get samples from them to make sure that my students have the best partners. And so if you're like, ooh, I want to use Polly's printer, I'd be interested because we create really high quality products. If you join print school, you get access to my printer. And it's not just like I'm the middleman. I directly connect you with them. They're your relationship now. You talk to them directly. You order for them directly. Like, it's just you and them. I'm not involved with that after I hand you off to the printer. But I do teach you how to work with the printer. I also teach you how to launch your product, how to kickstart your product. And if you're interested in the full dream printing method and what that entails and how long it takes to do it, you can go watch my free workshop at horacioprinting.com/workshop. There I will take you step by step through the full process of what it looks like to create luxury paper products without wasting time or money. And from there, you can learn a little more about print school and see if this is the right fit for you. So if you have something you would like to see on the Dream Printing podcast or a question you would like me to answer, I would love for you to jump into our community, horacioprinting.com/print community. And you can actually join a whole group of printing enthusiasts, paper lovers. You can ask questions. You can also send me a DM on Instagram, let me know, or comment below this podcast or video and tell me what you want to see on the next episode. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this has blessed you. Have a wonderful day, and you are so loved.